Are there certain movies that you really enjoyed when they first came out, and then after a few viewings you find out that they weren't too good? This video is for you. So I've been doing this YouTube thing for a little minute now, and I've gone back and watched some of my reviews and just, kind of reminiscing and taking notes for myself and seeing what I can improve on, what I dropped the ball on. And I noticed there were a few movies that I reviewed in my time doing YouTube where I was like, yeah, I think I kind of dropped the ball on this one. And on top of that, watching some old videos, seeing how smaller my face used to be. Yeah, it's funny the difference 2 years make. Like, I'm looking at myself like, oh my God, you look kind of skinny there. Then I look at myself now and it's like, damn, I got that Deputy Dog shit going on with the cheeks. So getting down to it, as far as recent stuff goes, The Last Jedi. I think I've said this before in my video. When I first reviewed The Last Jedi, that was like the best thing in the world to me since Jesus walked on water. When it comes to Star Wars, I'm a sucker for it. It's like that girlfriend that is bad for you, but because she just makes you feel a certain way, you continue to fuck with her. And then when she's gone, it's like, damn, what the hell was I thinking? That's some of these Star Wars movies to me. Last Jedi, I don't fall into the category of people that hate The Last Jedi, but at the same time, it's definitely not as good as I made it out to be. When I reviewed it, I gave it an A+. Actually, I'm going to give you a little snippet of my review of The Last Jedi. I say it's the best movie of the year. That's my opinion. So yeah, this movie gets an A+. I'm not changing my mind. I know I changed my mind a lot, but I'm sticking to my guns. This movie gave me chills. It was 2 hours and 30 minutes long, but it didn't seem like it because it was just that great of a film. Yeah, look, I know what you're saying. Oh my God, like he must have put on some weight. Like, look how small he was back then. Fuck you, alright? I reviewed Justice League when it first came out. And I guess seeing all those superheroes on the big screen just did something to me. Superman, Batman, like the OGs, like, everybody's all about Marvel now. But growing up, it was the Super Friends. It was the Justice League. So I was like, God, I still fucked with it. And I gave Justice League an A. If I were to grade Justice League now, it's definitely not as bad as people make it out to be. But Justice League, I think, is another one of those movies where I would give a C- to, just because it was cool seeing all those characters on the screen, but at the same time, it wasn't all that. And Steppenwolf, Jeepers Creepers 3 is another one. I reviewed Jeepers Creepers 3. It was awful, but I think when I have certain love for characters or for certain franchises, I always give the benefit of the doubt, and I try to see the best of it and not the worst of it. So Jeepers Creepers is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. 2 was really enjoyable. So 3 was in the making for a long time. So I was just happy for the fact that I'm actually getting to watch Jeepers Creepers 3. I was happy to see the Creeper in all his gory glory. Try saying that shit 3 times fast. And then when the movie went off, I said, guess that was okay. I gave it a C- in my review. There was enjoyment to have in this movie. The Creeper, first of all. The Creeper is one of my favorite monsters, okay? My favorite movie monsters. And every scene where he was in, he killed it, okay? There were some good kills. It is a pretty good installment to the series. It's something that, you can binge watch all 3 of them. But it definitely is the weakest of the series. Jeepers Creepers 3 deserves an F. What the fuck was I thinking? So y'all, that's my transparency as far as films that I've reviewed on my channel. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to drop the ball again. And I don't know if other YouTubers are willing to admit this, where they got something wrong with the movie. But listen, I'm going to be transparent. I'm only human. Sometimes I just go off my first reaction and my first impression about a movie. But then when you actually get to sit down and really watch it, or maybe, maybe I should wait a couple of days before I review a movie. But I'm just so quick to get my review out there. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I got to talk about it now. So those are just first impressions. But yes, I have dropped the ball on some movies. I admit that. So now to the movies that I grew up watching, and if I feel the same way about those movies now. First on the list, King Kong Lives. Holy shit. I love King Kong Lives. I actually cried at the end when the military killed Kong and he was sitting there holding his son, crying. I remember being a kid and I said, oh shit. There's 2 movies as a shorty that made me cry like a baby, and that was King Kong Lives and Imitation of Life. 2 totally opposite movies, but man, that shit got me in my feels. Watching that today, it is very unwatchable. It is horrible. You can't even watch it and laugh at it. Like, you got the regular Kong, who's evidently a man in a monkey suit, and then you got Lady Kong with the titties hanging out. It's just so laughable. It's bad, man. 0% from the critics, and I say, hold on, let me make sure I got that right, and 16% from the audience. This movie was shit, but I did love it back in the day, and that's another one of those of what the hell was I thinking. Howard the Duck. Yes, another critically panned disaster. This was George Lucas's follow-up to the Star Wars trilogy. This bombed very bad at the box office from the critics and the audience alike. But as a 6-year-old kid, I was in love with this movie. I must have rented this shit like a million times. I watched it every time it came on HBO. I forced this shit on my cousins. We're watching Howard the Duck. If you ask any family member, they'll tell you Rashad drove us crazy with that damn movie. As a 6-year-old, I loved Howard the Duck. Now, I can still watch Howard the Duck, but for all the wrong reasons. I watch it now to laugh at it. I'll take a few shots of tequila and just laugh at the movie and laugh at myself for being so obsessed with such a bad film. But damn it, I can still watch that movie and enjoy it. Rotten Tomatoes score for Howard the Duck, 15% from the critics, 38% from the audience. It's unanimous. This is an awfully good movie. It's awfully bad, but it's still good to look at. The Karate Kid Part 3. If you watch my channel, if you keep up with my videos, you know that The Karate Kid is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the show Cobra Kai right now, but there was a time when the Karate Kid franchise hit a low and it was out of commission for a minute, and it started with The Karate Kid Part 3. My appeal to this movie, I guess, was because I was such a fan of the original. The third one is a remake of the original, so I loved this movie when it first came out. This dropped in the summer of '89, which was a big summer for blockbusters. And this was a movie that, once again, every time it came on HBO, I watched it. I really dug the shit out of this movie. But watching it now, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in the world. But to Karate Kid standards, it's not that good. Terry Silver and Pat Morita are like the only ones, Mr. Miyagi, they're the only ones that really shine in this movie. Ralph Macchio was like a hyperactive man in this movie playing a kid. It was weird. So yeah, Karate Kid 3 now is almost unwatchable. It's really cringeworthy, especially how great Cobra Kai has turned out to be. So yeah, man, loved it back then as a 9-year-old kid. I don't care for it now, but I can still watch it on occasion just to fast forward to those parts. Rotten Tomatoes score for Karate Kid 3, 16% from the critics, 35% from the audience. Yeah, wasn't all that. Next on the list is Phantom Menace. Yes, that's the term that applies to people that watch a movie that really loved it and more than they should have loved it, and that's Phantom Menace. I watched this shit 6 fucking times in the theater just because of the Darth Maul fight, but the rest of this movie was it was awful. A lot of people say Attack of the Clones was the worst movie, and Attack of the Clones was not all that either. Like, it wasn't that good, but there's more in Attack of the Clones I could watch over Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace has just the pod race and the lightsaber fight with Darth Maul. Attack of the Clones had the Jedi arena fight. You had Jango Fett versus Obi-Wan, and then you had Count Dooku versus Anakin and Obi-Wan. So there was, and Yoda was cutting flips with the lightsaber. So there's more there's more in Attack of the Clones that I liked over Phantom Menace. But I tell you, out of all the movies on this list, I think this has the highest percentage because it's got a 54% from the critics, 59% from the audience. So I guess it did something right because it doesn't get a lot of hate like the other movies on my list here. Winding down now. Now these two movies, no doubt, are the most shitted on movies on YouTube of all time. they talk about these movies so bad. These two movies I'm about to mention are the ones where when people talk bad about them, I'm just sitting there like, yeah, that was bad. Those were terrible. Oh my God, like, how could you ever like that movie? Shit, I used to like that shit. Yes, y'all, Jaws the Revenge, I was a fan of. I got it on VHS for the first time. Big fan of the Jaws franchise. I did enjoy Jaws the Revenge. Yes, I did. With the shark popping out of the water, roaring like a lion, I used to like that shit. I used to love playing the Nintendo game back in the day. I watched Jaws the Revenge quite a few times. I was a fan of it as a 7-year-old kid. Back then, I would have gave that movie an easy A, just because I enjoyed watching this killer shark swim in the warm waters of the Bahamas, coming out the water dry, and standing up like a damn marlin. Yes, I would have gave that movie an A back then. Now, Jaws the Revenge is so horrible, so not watchable. That's another one where I'm like, damn, I used to like this movie. What the fuck is wrong with me? It makes me think, was I fucked up as a kid? But then I'm like, well, I was a kid. It's a monster movie. Even if it's a brainless monster movie, it's a monster movie. So I'm going to cut myself some slack, man. But yeah, Jaws the Revenge is one of those movies that I did used to like to watch, man. I had to admit it. Last but not least is Superman 4. My first time going to the drive-in movies. I went to the drive-in with my cousins and my auntie them, and we watched Superman 4 at the drive-in, my first experience there. And I think I enjoyed the experience more than the movie itself. And because it was Superman, it was Christopher Reeve, I did enjoy the movie. It had the formula of a superhero movie. Good guy versus bad guy, Nuclear Man. Nuclear Man beats Superman. Superman has to come back and defeat Nuclear Man. I didn't mind it at the time. I knew it wasn't the best movie. To me, Superman 2 was always the best. But I did like 4 at the time. I did rent it on VHS. I did watch it when it come on HBO regular TV. I did used to watch Superman 4, and I did like it. It was hard for me to admit that a Christopher Reeve Superman film was bad. So, y'all, I just had to be transparent because there are a lot of movies that people shit on. And, you know, it takes some balls doing this because I don't know what the feedback is going to be. But there are a lot of bad movies that people really shit on where I was like, damn, like, either I used to like it or I still like it. Because I still like Howard the Duck. I can still watch Howard the Duck, but people shit on Howard the Duck, you know. So, y'all, that's all I got, man. By the way, Jaws the Revenge, yeah, 0%. Jaws the Revenge is 0% critics and 15% from the audience. Superman 4 is 11% from the critics and 16% from the audience. Need I say more? What's your list of films that you were wrong about, that you really praised, and then turn around that you didn't like it? Comment freely below. If you dig the content, man, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. I have actually more movies in my head now that I want to talk about that I was wrong about, but that's for another video. Depends on how this one does. If this video does good, then, you know, I'll make another one. But if it's a flop, then it's just going to sink down with Jaws the Revenge. So, y'all, thank you for watching. As always, this is Rashad G signing out. See you in the next video.